So, in my real experience, as I was saying, the nagging feeling made itself apparent, and on the real side. The impression, as I said, of levers being pulled. Consequently, I found the real self-experience obscured, and then completely. As I was in now, another experience, and one that I would describe as a personal self-experience. I was playing a role as one of the computer game characters. In the old computer games, my personal self used to delight in. So I would surmise that whatever was activated was an emotionally charged idea associated with this game, and thus the corresponding effect or experience was instantaneously made so on the real side. Realizing this, I would assume that perhaps an underlying idea was activating, a subconscious idea, and I sought to re-establish my real awareness. To achieve the state that were I on the physical, it would be like being in a gentle breeze, as I described. As a result, the effect was immediate, and I was back in the real self-experience, and was maintaining this state of being isness again, and a state, as I have described, that was entirely beyond the physical, created personal self. And so, all I would be is my real awareness, and what I can recognize with it, with no personal self-obfuscation. But then something activated, and I was pulled again into the personal self and the computer game experience. This would go on for a time, and then I would awake. We might say this was a demonstration of the fluctuation between the personal self and the real awareness, as we vacillate between the two, until we decide adamantly to go with our real awareness and real intent, to be with the ease. But perhaps this was something else. As I said, my state of being in this experience was such that I would not have activated my personal self, and indeed was not doing so, suggesting then something else was, and we are all aware that yes, our real awareness supersedes the personal created self, but the personal self is still subjected to what it is, as it is bombarded by the subliminals, and brushes up against the ideas of others. The personal self is designed to create experiences. That is its purpose, and we choose what we create, and we also choose when not to create, or when not to utilize the experience-generating personal self, for when we are in our being-isness, new nowness states in creation. The trouble is, the personal self is simply a mechanic, and as long as we have it, we must experience whatever is generated from it, and what is generated from it can certainly obscure our real awareness, as the activation of it has us step out of our real awareness. Realistically, we have to activate something. We have to do what we do to maintain the personal self. And even our sharings will have us activating ideas to effect that which we want to share. But then, when not activating or utilizing the mechanical personal self in this way, we would ideally return to this being-isness state and take the time to recognize the is from here, especially on the real side, where it is prudent to be connected to the real awareness as much as we are able, as much as we decide, so we can get much more from our experiences that any personal self-activation would cloud or obscure. The world controllers are getting such a control of the personal created vehicles, and are seeking to have absolute control of all the mechanics of them, all the thought and emotional facilities that generate experience, that the free will to decide what we will activate and experience is diminishing to the point where free will be gone. This real side experience demonstrates this, that the controllers have been slowly activating the mechanics of the created self, and are doing it more so by the day, taking the reins of our personal selves, the usurping of free will, that even if we do have the connection to the real self, and are deciding to be in this new nowness, if we still have a created personal self, then it can be activated in creation, external of our decision for it to be so. It's like someone is sneaking into our living rooms in our homes and watching DVDs on our televisions, or someone breaking into our factories of creational experience generating and cranking up the mechanics. And so, regardless of if we decide to activate the mechanics of the personal self, or they are activated by another force, makes no difference. The personal self is activated, and the experience then follows in accordance with the design of the created self and the cause and effect principle of the simulator it is in. We are set to perhaps lose our free will, the free will to decide our experience, the free will to activate what we choose of the experience generating personal self, and even the free will to not activate anything and to assume a new nowness state that we can recognize the is from. So they may well be, and perhaps have been doing so for a time, activating the personal self while we sleep, and the effect is clear to see. The activation of the personal self during sleep will have us experience personal self-experiences on the real side, or obscure the real self-experience at the very least. This would make sense from the controller's perspective, as they understand that the new friends are receiving training from the guides and experiences on the real side dream arena, which is facilitating our awareness and recognition, and ultimately will have us escape the dark forces controlled matrix, which they do not want to happen. I have heard from others how they have been struggling to have real side experiences of late, or that the experiences have dried up, or there have been months of no experiences, etc. And there can be many reasons for this, but perhaps what I have outlined here may also have something to do with it. On my experience then, the dark forces may have rummaged about in my creational causal vehicle Akashic records, found an old experience, and activated the emotionally charged idea associated with it. Hence I found myself in one of the games my personal self used to indulge in. We must remember that all experiences are just for the personal self, however. The real self requires no individual experiences. It just is. The personal self needs the experiences for recognitional comparison viewpoints, but the degree to which we have real side experiences, or if we have them at all, or if they are deliberately obscured by the activation of our personal mechanics by the dark forces, has no bearing on our real awareness. However, if our source of experiences on the real side is being diminished and even shut off, this would be rather detrimental to our process. If we are no longer afforded the important lessons and demonstrations that the real guides wish to impart to us. Realistically, then, when this world becomes to the agreed upon point that free will is completely gone, then remaining here would make no sense for the new friends. We would be unable to maintain our connection to our real awareness, because our personal created vehicles will constantly be activating against our will, so we would not maintain this connection as long as we have this physical vehicle in that scenario, and sharing beyond this point would be pointless too. You're not going to get through to robots who are completely immersed and locked into a completely programmed and controlled personal self, where free will is no more.
Okay, that was great, Kevin, and a little scary too, but good. Yes, thank you. So, I'm afraid to ask, but what did you get from all that?
Well, from that I surmised that the rather daunting and sobering ability of the dark forces to be able to activate my experience-creating personal vehicle external to my decision to do so, in summary.
Well, you got everyone's attention, yes. So again, yes, it's the world today, and constantly being drilled with it, because we have to deal with it while we're here. And the free will aspect is very interesting. Yes, even if you're in a cage, you still have free will to decide, your focus. And this is why we're here, is to focus. So even with all the calamity going on, you decide your focus. So again, this is why I haven't really, said anything or promoted the virus idea with the world, because it's they want to get everybody's attention and agreement, which they're doing. And yes, people are, there's many people aware of what's going on. They're aware of what the government is doing, but at the same time, they need more than that. That's just like the prisoners in a prison. They're aware of what the guards and the warden are doing, but how is it that they can escape? So there's more to it than that. So you have the courage to present something here. It's a lot of fun. Thank you. Yes, thank you.
Okay, thank you. Yes, it was a rather interesting experience. I mean, I literally had the sensation of somebody pulling levers while I was in the middle of a real side experience, and then the fluctuating between the real side experience, the real self experience, if you will, and the personal self experience. And then when I went into the personal self experience, I then would readjust my my connection, re-establish my connection, move back into my real self experience, but then I would feel the funny sensation of lever pulling again and was pulled back again. It was like a back and forth for a while. It was quite interesting, really, if remaining objective to it. But yes.